To our area and conditions. Speaking of meteorologist Brantly, let's see if he joins us live now from Gulfport. Brantly, how are you doing out there? How are things looking?
Taylor, we're doing all right. We had a little scare earlier when our news vehicle got hit by some flying debris, shattering the windows. My crew and I are okay. We are safe. We are in a much better location now, but the wind is just howling. It is really picking up. We've seen a few vehicles out here, most of which are first responders. We've seen the police come after several people that are just out and about trying to check out the scene. If you drive your personal vehicle out, the chances of Gulfport police tracking you down is very high. They are right on your tail as soon as you hit the road. So just stay inside. They are enforcing those curfews, and we've seen a lot of damage so far already. I know I was just speaking to meteorologist Ryan Mahan back in the studio. He said we saw a peak wind gust earlier of about 101 miles an hour in Gulfport. So we've seen wind gusts about Category 2 hurricane strength, and it has brought down a lot of stuff. We've seen some pretty large tree limbs start to come down. This one right here falling during the time we were here. We also have seen several trees fall down, one of which hitting our news vehicle. We've also seen a lot of flying metal objects, things that can really turn into huge projectiles and do a lot of damage. And we've seen street signs like the ones behind me fly off of their posts and become projectiles, shattering windows and hitting vehicles. We've also seen a lot of storm surge really increasing. We're still about a couple hours out from high tide, so expect the storm surge to continue to get worse. We are looking across here. This is US 90 that I'm seeing in front of. We look across here, we can see, as the police are passing by right now, the water rising very quickly. We have several areas where the US 90 is just completely inundated. Across from us, the water has risen about 3 or 4 feet just in the hour that we've been here. So the water continuing to rise even as Zeta pulls away. We're still seeing those southwesterly winds now getting pulled in from the Gulf and from the Mississippi Sound. And one thing to note is when we have this sort of circulation here with the hurricanes, we have the wind coming out of one direction as the eye wall first passes through, and then it flips around as the other half passes through. So in that first half, we've had several things like branches and debris break off, and then on the other side of it, a lot of that wind pushes those things and turns those things into projectiles. So we've seen several things flying by. We are in a good spot right now. We're protected on 3 sides, but looking across, we've seen some smaller trees, like some very small palm trees, large palm fronds and branches just fly by. We've seen several trash cans float by in the floodwaters across from us. We've also seen even things as large as railroad crossing, like the big ones that go across the road, have toppled over. Several transformers have blown. The power is still on here in this location in downtown Gulfport, but a very, very eerie feeling out here. We've seen the sky light up green several times as those transformers go in and out. So we've seen them explode, where we'll have the power go on and off for a few minutes there, but it's just really not safe to be outside right now. The good news is Zeta is moving very, very fast. And part of the reason we're seeing such high wind speeds is because that forward speed on the northeastern quadrant kind of corresponding with a northeastward motion of 20 to 25 miles an hour. So that's why we are seeing such high wind gusts on the northeastern quadrant. But still, even on the backside of this, still very damaging winds involved in the storm. We had a couple of metal objects fly pretty close to us there. We are expecting some more damage to occur. The power outages will likely get worse, and we have several power lines down in floodwater. So even if as conditions improve wind and rain wise, where we have the floodwaters, if we have live wires in those, that is where we do have a concern for electrocution as well. So it's just really not safe to be out. We do have some law enforcement out here again that are basically just chasing people off the streets at this point. We have not seen any EMS or fire. I don't believe that they're responding to calls right now, but we can always check on that with emergency management. But really not a whole lot of people on the road outside of law enforcement and a few essential people. But conditions are really not improving too much just yet. We were in the thick of it earlier. We still are, even though we are seeing the wind switch around just a little bit. we're not really out of the woods just yet. But the good news is conditions will improve very rapidly as this thing pulls to the northeast, and in just a few hours it'll be a totally different scene. And of course, you know, going into tomorrow morning when we have daylight, we'll be able to really see the toll that Zeta has taken on the Gulf Coast. We're really going to be able to get a good look at the damage then. I've seen a good amount of it so far. We've seen a lot of roof damage as well, in addition to all the trees and other things like signs and stuff down. So we are going to see a lot of damage as the sun rises tomorrow morning. All right, you guys, I'm going to go ahead and hand it back over to you guys there in the studio. I'll be back here in Gulfport here in just a little bit.
Brantly, thank you so much, and continue to stay safe out there as well. And now we have here